Thanks for joining me. Unfortunately, in the last video recording, I forget to enable my microphone. That's why I'm recording for the second time. I'm going to talk about threat hunting and SOC analyst. My name is Jandan, and let me talk about a little bit by myself. I'm the CTO of Norm Shield Security. Have a computer engineering bachelor of science. I have more than 5 years of security and network administration experience. And then I decided to go to the offensive part, and I became to be a penetration tester. I have a bunch of certificates, CCNA, CCNP, and also offensive certificates. I also have forensic investigation and incident handling certificates as well. This is my email address, jandan.bulikbas@nomshield.com, and you can follow me on Twitter and also my company's Twitter account. Okay, what we're going to talk about is we will start with the command line tools. Mainly, we will focus on some of the basics one, for example, cat, grep, headtail, of course, sort and uniq, and then we will jump into some of the advanced one like awk and cat, and then we will use some iterative solutions like find and for, and then of course we will need some regular expressions, and we may touch on some Python codes as well, because some of the restriction with command line tools we may need to use Python as well. So let's start with the first command lines, but before starting that, make sure that you download the sample log files. Where you're going to get it, you can get it from here. It's actually bit.do /threat hunting. This is the URL that you can download the sample files. I will also include the CTF files under this directory. So if you visit that, it's going to redirect you to my Google Drive share page. So in this directory, you can download the one.zip here. It's being shared by everybody. And if you download it, you will see some output under this folder. So for example, let me remove actually all the log files here. Okay, as you can see, I don't have anything other than the binary file and also a zip file. The zip file is exactly the same zip file that's shown in this link. So let me unzip this one. So how can I unzip? Of course, you can use the command line tool. If you want it to be a good threat hunter or forensic investigator, you gotta use the command line for many purposes, not only for the log analysis, but also for unzipping, processing files, or even processing binaries also, can be done with the command line tool. So let me unzip this thing, one.zip. It's gonna unzip 3 files, as you can see here. So if you don't know, ls is the listing the directory. L parameter is a listing format. If you don't put that, it's going to be include only the file names. And if you put the H, it's going to show you that it's in a human readable format. So we need to look at it in ls minus H format, because we wanted to know how big is our log file. So for example, a tat.log is actually 6 megabytes of file, but u underscore these two logs are actually more than 30 megabytes in each. So this is the first time that we are looking at this log file. So where we are going to start. So our starting point is we need to know that the file size first, it is eligible to open with a human readable text-based editors, or we have to use command line tools. So for this moment, it seems that 6 megabytes, or the other one is at 30 megabytes. Of course, I can open with a text editor here, for example, attack.log, but it's going to take a lot of CPUs and RAM. So as you can see, guys, so even if it's 6 megabytes of log file, it's taking some time, and my CPUs are becoming too busy. It's not that easy to analyze the whole log files with the text editor, even if it's a 6 megabytes. Instead, we have a chance to take a look at with command line tool. So how can I know where to start? First of all, you need to know that the number of lines of this log. Second, you need to know the structure of this log file, what kind of log file you're looking at. And the third, you have to know in your mind some kind of attack vectors, like SQL injection, or maybe cross-site scripting, or maybe DNS poisoning. So depending on the log file, you can generate some attack vectors, right? So if it's a web application, you can imagine some web-based attack vectors like, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, request forgery, directory browsing, or insecure direct object reference. So those kind of things are web-related vulnerabilities. But if you are looking at the DNS log file, you need to know that DNS may include some DNS poisoning, DNS zone transfer, DNS brute forcing, DNS enumeration, things like that appears on the DNS log file. And if you're looking at, for example, a DHCP log, you may look at the DHCP starvation, or DHCP brute forcing, or DHCP, denial of service. So those kind of attack vectors depend on the log file that you are looking at. So for example, you can't find any SQL injection attack patterns on a DHCP log file, right? Because it's not related. Even if an attacker did try that, it's going to be useful because there's no SQL server behind a DHCP server. So with that, let's analyze our log file. First, understand the number of lines. What we can do, we can use the word count of this attack log. So that's if you don't use the top pattern, it's easy. So for example, if I put only 3 letters, there is only one option starts with APT. Then if you press on tab, it's going to complete the whole line. So word count minus L is going to give you the number of lines on this log file. So it says that 27,000 of logs in this log file. Okay, it's plenty of line. I can't read with that human eye, right? Because it's pretty difficult to identify the attacks in 27,000 lines. So, and this is the first thing that we need to use some automated tools. And the second one, what kind of log file is this? Is it a DNS or DHCP or weblog or router or firewall log, whatever? So let's take a look at the first 10 lines of this log file. So I'm going to press on Control, press L. It's going to clear my screen to the red tab. So when I click on that, see that it goes to this. So you can have a clean terminal before running any command, because sometimes the command will take a lot of space and you may lose your point where you were starting. That's why I prefer to shift my screen to the top before running any kind of big outputs. Okay, head command is going to give me the number of 10 line at the beginning of the file. So if I type head.attack log, it's going to give me a 10 line. So first line is saying that this is a kind of software. It's a Microsoft Internet Information Service 8.5. So we are looking at IES 8.5 logs, which is a web server. Okay, good. And this is captured on 2016 on August. So this is the important one. It says that the fields on this log file are separated with space, as you can see here. Each column is separated with space here, and each column has a name and a type, right? So for example, the first column is date, the second column is time, the third column is source server IP address, and the other one is client server method. So what kind of method the client used to access to the server, right? And the client's URL, and also the URL query. So for example, if you have any query string in the URL, it's going to be in this column. So for this moment, it doesn't have any, that's why it's dash. So the other one is server port, it is 80, and the client server username, what username client used to access to server, it's nothing for this moment. And client IP address, of course, this is one of the important ones. We will look at this because we are looking for an attacker. Attackers usually have an IP address in the TCP IP stack. So it's real IP unless they are not using any kind of anonymizer like Tor or proxy. And client server user agent, what kind of user agent is using the client? So here, for example, we're looking at a kind of user agent on this column. Of course, client server referrer, before reaching out to your website, what kind of referrer is being the client were before accessing your site. And server to client status. So what kind of status message the server returned to the client? So for example, here we're looking at a kind of response that says 301, which means it's moved to some other location. And for example, here we're looking at HTTP 200. That's a good thing, depending on that, of course. So server to client sub status. So if there is something 500 message and it says sub, status, then it might be a number here. So it's 0 for now. Win32 status and also the time taken. So this is also important in order to investigate some kind of attack patterns. So for example, this one takes 793 milliseconds, and this one is 1.5 seconds, and these ones are pretty small. So, okay, this is a kind of web application log file. We understand the columns. That's the very, very first step to begin. And then we are going to look at some attack patterns on this log file. Okay, so we used hat, and of course we can use the cat. But remember, if you cat anything like that, it's gonna, fill up all your screen. So for this moment, for example, I want to test it. So if I hit enter, see that my screen is fully loaded with the output of this, command. So 27,000 of log files are printed in my screen. That's not a good thing. You don't want to see something like this. Okay, so that's not a good thing, especially if this is the file is too large. You may lock your terminal. That's not an absolutely good thing. If you are using cat, you gotta use more at the end, so you can stop the printing everything. So you can take a look at them step by step, right? So for example, here I'm looking at. If you don't want to see that on your screen, you may use less. For example, here. When I see that it's not printed my dashboard, actually my screen, my terminal. Unlike more is printed out directly to the terminal output. But this time you're looking at a separate, let's say, a virtual screen. You're looking at the output, and if you're done with looking at this, just press quit, and now you're going to back, and your terminal is clean. So that's the difference between more and less. For me, maybe there are more differences, but for this moment, I have only this information. Okay, so more and less, those are the things that we can use. Of course, the cat is a very good command to look at the file, but we have a pretty much sophisticated version of cat. Of course, that is grep. This is the very, very useful command. So that actually takes a number of options and also some patterns and also some options. It might be a file, it might be a standard input. So if I type --help here, I am looking at some of the options that grep can take. So some of the important ones are capital E is extended regular expression. Grep by default use wildcards. So if you wanted to use it with a regular expression, you got to use a minus capital E option. And of course, you can read from a file, and you can read from standard input as well. So that is another important one is ignore case. Grep by default is a case sensitive. If you use it with only grep and search for something, you may not find what you are looking for unless you type the right capital, right cases, right? Okay, and let me see what other things. So -v also inverts the search. So for example, you don't want to see something, and for example, if the line includes, let's say, HTTP 200, but I'm looking for HTTP 500, so you may exclude with -v option and say that, hey, I don't want to see 200. So we're going to show those examples, but for this moment, just keep in mind that there's an option to hide some, use some inversion method. And of course, you can look at the line number. This might be sometimes useful as well. If you know the exact line number, you can take a look at the previous lines, after lines. So sometimes it's important. And let me see. -O is the only matching. So that's if you wanted to see only the pattern that matches some kind of regular expression, you may take a look at that. So for example, if you are looking at an IP address and you wanted to get only the IP address other than nothing else, then you can use a minus O. I'm going to give you another example on that. Let me see what kind of options. Of course, these things are also important. So sometimes when you find something in a log file, you may want to look at the first, before lines, after lines, number of lines, right? So minus A, minus B, and minus C will allow you to take a look at the a number of lines before the log you are looking for, and also a number of lines after the log file log line that you're looking for. So let's do some examples here. So for example, in our attack log, if you don't say anything here, it's not gonna do anything because grep expects some options here, right? So for example, if I say that grep, let's say get. Note that I'm looking at a small get here, and if I type here, I'm not getting anything. Although when I look at this file with text editor, I see that there are a lot of get words here, but why grep is not finding? As I said, grep is case sensitive. In order to find the get words, you need to use ignore case, okay, minus I. So in this case, if I do that, I'm gonna get a lot of results this time, right? Okay, that's how you can use the ignore case. Another thing, we're gonna look at the some of the lines that may include some kind of attack vectors, right? So let's find some kind of attack vectors that can be found in a web application log file. So we need some web level attack vectors, right? So I know really good resources to find some of the web level attack vectors. That's called OWASP. If you guys are not familiar with OWASP, I strongly encourage you to take a look at that. They have an absolutely perfect, stuff on their website. So for example, one of my favorite is OWASP testing guides. Let me find, should be somewhere here. Okay, the top 10. First of all, these top 10s are very valuable, because those kind of web vulnerabilities exist a lot of in a lot of web applications. So for example, injection, broken authentication, cross-site scripting, insecure direct object reference, things like that. If you don't know what these are mean, you can take a look at that. There's a small description here, and some of the example attack vectors, some of the references here. If you wanted to know the attack vectors and you want some hands-on experience, I already covered that in my previous sessions, but you can download and use the OWASP DEM vulnerable web applications. So this is a deliberately vulnerable application to test your skills on a real web application. So you can download and install this thing, and also you can play around with that to do some attacking vectors, right? And also there is another good, my favorite is actually bbox. It has also a virtual machine. When you search for, let's say VM. Okay, this thing. It's created by TSEC Games. They have a virtual machine available for this. So if you, for example, download this, it's an Ubuntu machine. bbox already installed in that. You can start on a VMware environment, and you can attack to this box. So it is also some description, but I'm not going to spend some time to attacking vectors, but instead I want you to take a look at all these kind of web applications attack that may exist on a web application platform, right? So we're looking at for some kind of injection attack. So what kind of injections can I find on this log file? So the first thing that exists on a log file and a web application log file is of course the very basic attack vector is SQL injection, right? Let's take a look at for that. So SQL injection, SQL is have some keywords, right? So for example, if I search for SQL, you will see that there are a number of keywords exist on, so let's search for keywords. Okay, close column, of course there has to be some select statements, things like that. So these are some keywords that may exist on a SQL statement. So SQL injection also uses exactly the same keywords to exploit a potential SQL injection. So select, from, where, order. Let's search for that. So if I search select here, and if I say look, oh, there are a lot of select here, right? As you can see, guys, here select, PG sleep something, and also select plus something, comma, plus plus. So there are a lot of select statements here, and unless your applications have really select statement in URL, that means this is something really problematic, right? So this is actually coming from our log file. Somebody tried to find a SQL injection in our platform. So this is select statement, but how about, for example, I wanted to look at for wait for. Okay, somebody also tried the wait for statement as well. So wait for, select, where, from, union, those kind of keywords are give us an idea, but how can I try all of them together, right? So that's why we need to focus on some kind of regular expression, right? So this time we're gonna take a look at some of the basics of regular expressions. So let me jump to a very good site that you can test your regular expression skills, which is called regexer. Regexer helps you to identify some regular expression patterns while doing the, while writing the regular expression. So let me give you some of the basics here. I'm gonna use a multi-line here because that is grep usually works on by default. So for example, I wanted to grab only the capital letters here, right? So every regular expression patterns should include a kind of syntax. It starts with square brackets and with square brackets, and you can put some stuff inside that. So if you wanted to interested in capital letters only, you can say that A to capital Z, right? So as you can see, guys, I selected all here and also here some of the capital letters. But if you're interested in only some text with at least 4 characters, you can say that, hey, there has to be at least 4 characters and more, right? This is how we can present it. Of course, you can put some plus sign here, but it's going to say that 1 or more characters. But I want even more than 1 characters, then you have to say that 4 or 5, whatever characters you want, and comma. You can put that, hey, at most it's going to be 10 characters. So this time, as you can see here, I am limiting the number of characters here. So maybe if you wanted to say A to J, not A to K, or even you can say that A to F. So see here, 4 characters, at most 10 characters. It's not including any PQR characters because my character set is not including those kind of characters. Of course, you can do the same thing for it with small letters so lower cases. And as you can see here, I selected all the lowercase letters here. Oh, if you're interested in, let's do something with numbers here. And if I say that 0 to 9, then you select all the numbers. I want at least 3 numbers, and that might be more. Then here's your output. So let's do something complicated a little bit more. So for example, I need to write a regular expression exactly matches with this phone number, right? Let's do that. So it starts with plus. So if you wanted to use a regular expression, you need to know the unique characters that may appear in a regular expression. The unique characters, or let's say special characters in a regular expression, is plus, minus, star, parentheses, curly parentheses, square parentheses, and this thing is also they are special characters, of course. The dot itself, whenever you need to use a special characters in a regular expression, you need to put a backslash before it. So you can tell that regular expression, hey guys, I'm gonna look for dot character itself instead of a single character, right? So for example, here I wanted to look at for plus sign, if I put plus sign here, it's gonna be interesting because it's a special character. But if I put a backslash before that, I selected all the pluses. That's great. Then there will be a number, let's say 0 to 1, a number, or maybe let's say 0 to 9, and then there will be a dash. Depending on your regular expression engine, dash might be a special character or may not be special character, but for this moment, for example, it works both. That's possible. And then there will be a parentheses. So the parentheses, since they are also special characters, I'm going to put some backslash, and there will be 3 numbers. So 0 to 9, and there will be exactly 3 numbers. So I selected up to here, and then after parentheses, there will be a dash, and then there will be 3 numbers here, again 0 to 9. This time I'm not going to use any parentheses. It's going to be 3 and dash, and there will be 0 to 9 and 4 characters. See that? I selected all the text. So that's how you can create a more complex regular expressions. And if you wanted to, let's say, select some different words from the different parts. So for example, I need to select foo, I need to select bar, I need to select, let's say, and is. Okay, so how can I do that? I'm going to do this: foo, bar, and is. Okay, so that's easy to select these things all together. Okay, this will help you to select select in a statement with conjunction with or keyword. So one last thing in a regular expression, maybe you wanted to negate of something, right? So for example, I need the lines without numbers, right? So that's going to be tough for many regular expression beginning to regular expression. So here's the thing: if you use the this character and then you put some item here, it's gonna negate the selection. So for example, if I say that 0 to 9 and plus at least, let's say, at least 1 here, okay, what's wrong with this one now? Okay, so I am looking for the beginning of the line, end of the line, and there will be no number. So let's analyze this regular expression. This character means at the beginning of the line. So I'm saying that the beginning of the line and end of the line, there should be no 0 to 9 characters. So that's why I can select all the lines with no numbers. Okay, so let's go back to our grep statement. We were looking for some wait for, some select statements, some union statements. So we need to select them all. So I'm going to say that again, grep ignore, and I'm going to put some regular expressions here. So I'm going to say select, and maybe union, and maybe wait for, and from, where. So these are the special keywords in a regular in SQL statement. But most of the beginners do this mistake, and they say that grep -a, hit enter, nothing. Oh, how is this possible? Because you're saying that the grep statement gonna look for this character series instead of regular expressions, right? In order to make it regular expression, you need to put an -e sign, and it doesn't matter if you put it in this way or in this way. Okay, it's the same thing. So in this case, if I search for it, make sure that you're not going to hit enter without any more or less statement at the end. Okay, because the output may be too big for your terminal and you may crash your terminal. Okay, so make sure that you are giving some time to yourself to analyze these things. Okay, as you can see, guys, I can see some outputs here. So there are some select statements, there are some wait for statements, there are some SQL injection types statements exist here. Okay, so that's interesting. So let's choose something from here. I see that there are some wait for statement here, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna look for the attacker IP address. So is there any one single attacker or multiple attackers? So I need to know that, right? Because obviously this guy is trying to do something with SQL statement, right? So it's sending an arbitrary character series and then apostrophe and then semicolon and then wait for and some number, right? And it's also trying to, escape with the space characters. So, okay, let's do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select only this column, so which is the client IP address, and it is on column. Let's see again our log files header. So the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So ninth column is the client IP address. So let's select that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the ninth column, right? So I'm going to use cut with the delimiter. It's going to be space because we know that the IES log file is space delimited log file, right? Every column is separated with space from each other. So, and I'm going to select the field number 9, okay? And again, I'm going to use the more statement here. So here I am looking at some of the IP addresses that the attackers are using. So, but this list might be very long, right? So let's count the number of lines, and it's 500 lines. So although it's some reasonable number, but still we don't advise you to look for all these IP addresses one by one, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sort this and get the number of these lines. So I will show you something really useful command. Sort, and then uniq minus C, and then sort minus NR. So first of all, sort means this, it's gonna sort all the lines with an alphanumeric. So if you wanted to sort with a number, you gotta say that here at minus n, right? So, but I need only the ASCII sorting, that's fine. And uniq is going to do this. If there are multiple same lines, it's going to be unique by the uniq command. And minus C means that while making it unique, please count the number of lines so I can get the idea that how many requests this client or this attacker generated, right? And then I'm going to use sort here, and the sort again with this time with number at the beginning, right? Because I wanted to sort with the number of occurrence of this thing. And of course the reverse, because I want the biggest number at the top, the lowest number at the bottom, so I can distinguish the real attackers from the normal users. So what I'm going to do is when I hit the enter, as you can see guys, 500 of them are coming from this IP address. Obviously this is an attacker. So we got the idea. We know who is the attacker. We know such attack scenario in our hand. So let's take a look at this potential attacker, right? This time I'm gonna grab this IP address in my log file. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first count the number of lines. So 27,000 of these. Remember my log file actually is 27,714, and the pretty majority of this log file is generated by this particular attacker. So obviously he's doing something really attack, right? So how about the other IP addresses? How can I get the other IP addresses? Of course I can do this. So for example, I can cat the attack log files, and then I can use the cut commands with a delimiter again and field of 9, and then sort uniq minus C and sort minus NR again. So this is pretty, some people are even creating an alias for that because it's being used a lot of times while you are analyzing log files. That's why I usually, write it in a one only command. By the way, if you don't know what this pipe means that the output of the previous statement goes as an input to the next statement, okay? So this one goes as an input to this command, and this one goes as an input to the next command. This one goes as an input to the next command, so forth. Okay. So this is the pipe is actually a pipelining, means that redirecting standard output to another command standard input. Okay, so if I do that, I see that there are a number of users. So 88, 212, and also this one is obviously our attacker. So good. Let's take a look at the what kind of URL this guy is asking for and what kind of request is he generated, right? So let's investigate our attacker again, and we know that he has 27,683 lines of code. And what I'm going to do is this time I'm going to cut -d, and let's see how many unique URLs he's asking for, right? I'm going to get the URL field. What was that? Our attack log. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is our URL and 6 is our query string, right? Let's get it. 5 and 6, okay. So what I'm going to do is grep cut with space and get field of 5 and 6, and okay, now I'm gonna do, let's take a look at that, whether we are doing the right thing. When I look at it, Akunetics, there are some stuff here, right? Somebody is scanning with some of the URL encoded URL. So here we have a lot of garbages. So that's interesting. That's interesting, and it also gives us an idea that this attacker. So if you look at only the first few lines of log files, it seems that he is using an Akunetics. Akunetics is a vulnerability web application vulnerability scanner. If you don't know, you better know that, because Akunetics is one of the famous vulnerability scanner exists, in our world. So this is the Akunetics web application scanner, and it is pretty capable to identify the web application level vulnerabilities. Somebody downloaded either trial version or maybe downloaded a cracked version of this thing and scanning my website. Okay, let's investigate more. What kind of things that he can find. So okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sort. Let's take only the URLs and okay, so let's get only the 5th column, and what I'm gonna do is again sort uniq -c and sort -nr. Okay, and I'm going to say more because I know that there will be a lot of URLs, because the Akunetics is actually generating a lot of random and also predefined URLs to uncover the vulnerabilities. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, as you can see, guys, he's looking at my login page. He's looking at the register, log off account. So he generated 8,500 requests to my login page, and also 2,700 for register page. So as you can see, there are a few options below. So that's interesting. Let's see how many of these things seems illegal, right? So this time I'm gonna get not only the 5th column, but I'm gonna get the 6th column as well. Okay, let's take a look at that. And as you can see, guys, it's login page, but no query string, which means he doesn't generate any query string in the URL, but instead he used the post body, right? He generated a lot of requests to my web server, but unfortunately I can't see that body, because in IES log there will be no post body. Okay, you can see the get query string, but unfortunately you can't see the post query. So for example, here he generated some URE and a query string here, but unfortunately I can't see the query string here. For example, I see that there will be some query string here, for example, but no other here. So that's interesting. So let's scroll down here, okay? Because I see some interesting stuff here, but a pretty majority of the attacks are generated to my account login page, right? So if I scroll down here, those are the interesting things: registry.vb, chargez, cs. So he's looking at for some special files. if I have a configuration problem and I forget to close these things, he is trying to find it out. And below you will see some interesting patterns here. So he is trying to find some directory browsing. And so here again, directory browsing related things, and also some command injections here. So he tried a lot, and majority of them are tried either once or a couple of times, which means that they are generated by machine. And okay, yeah, so some of the URL encoded parameters here. There are a lot. So obviously somebody used an Akinetic scanner to scan my website and try to find out some vulnerabilities, right? So what I'm going to look at is I need to know whether he is successful or not, right? Because I need an answer to my manager and say that, hey, this guy tried to something and he was successful, right? Or he was unsuccessful. I got to give an answer to them. So this will help us to do something, and this time I'm gonna do something like this. Okay, I will get the response code, right? Because if I get something HTTP 500, if I get something HTTP 200, I need to know that whether it's a expected result or unexpected result, right? So let's take a look at that, and let's see that if it is redirected to somewhere or it's HTTP 200 or whatever. Okay. So how can I get that? Again, I'm gonna look at my my log file, and as you can see, guys, there is a server status column here, and it is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. So let's get the 12th column. Okay. So let's see what kind of status codes does he get, right? If I hit enter, I see that there are a lot of 200s. I see a lot of 500s and 403. So let's see the 200 results and 500 results, right? Because those are the important ones for us. Because 200 means that you responded in an expected way. 500 means that you didn't handle this kind of requests. So I need to check out both of them, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the URLs again. And also, of course, there's no quest string. But this time, I'm going to look at the, what was that, 12. Okay, sort and more. Okay. Okay. So on login page, he gets a lot of 500, right? So let's particularly look at these, because if you're in the login page, if you're trying to do something and you get a 500, there has to be some reasons to get that, right? Probably he tried something really bad, then they get an 500. Of course, you need to know your application's behavior as well. So if I send a SQL injection command to my login page, what kind of response code I'm returning, right? I need to know that before analyzing that. Okay, so we have something in our hand. Let's take a look at this account/login. Okay, this time I'm gonna look at the. I will put another grep statement here. I'm gonna put account login here and put another pipe here. So this time it's gonna let's not sort here because I need the full line to take a look at the first. So I'm gonna grab the attacker's IP address first, and then I'm gonna grab the account login page. And of course, I need to get only the HTTP 500, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the 500 with some spaces here, because I know that in my log file, the response code, there will be a one space at the end and one space at the beginning, right? That's why I'm putting a space 500 space. Okay. Okay, so when I hit enter, I see that the request sometimes it redirects to 500 page, right? So why it is being returning a 500? Is it a exploitation kind of, or it's a normal behavior, right? So what's missing is here that you need to know the body of the post request, right? Because you can, analyze this thing without a post body. It says that it sent some request to post request to account login page, but it's not saying what kind of content there was, right? But you know that you responded with a 500. So this is something that you don't want to see in your log files, because 500 really we don't want to prefer. Instead, you gotta manage your applications and return some kind of HTTP 200 and say that, hey, I know you are going to try something, but I know that how to handle the unhandled exceptions, right? So that's an interesting output here. Let's try to find something with 200, all right? If there is 200 that I'm returning him, and if he successfully logged in on some pages, then that's something really bad for me, right? Okay, let's see what kind of URLs he can find it out. Okay, let's try. This time I'm going to try with HTTP 200. Okay, and let's take a look at some more. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try with tail. Okay, this time I'm going to look from the bottom in order to make sure that he found any kind of interesting URL, right? Actually, let's do this. Let's do this first. This time sort minus nr. What was that? The URL, right? Yes, it was the URL. I'm not gonna say it's a reverse. Okay, this time normal. Let's see what kind of. Okay, these are the number of requests. 12 instead of 12. I'm gonna get 5 and 6, and let's say more. Okay, he tried this one once and this one once. These are tried once, and let me see this. Okay, and I'm gonna get the response code as well, so I can take a look at that. Hey, he tried, and I'm getting a 200 here. Here I'm getting a 404. So those are the interesting replies, right? So let's find something with HTTP 500 with get request, right? And then I'm gonna say okay. What I'm gonna say is I'm gonna okay. So post body is here, but I am looking for the number of column 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth column. Okay. So fourth column is the column that helps us to find the request method, right? So I'm gonna say more here. Okay, so it can that's interesting. The request method is Akunetics. Okay, that's interesting. And debug and get file here. That's good thing. So I will look at the last lines of the code. Okay, so I'm not gonna sort, but this time I'm gonna look at the tail. Okay, so maybe I need to look at the first and second column as well, because those are showing us the date and time. And let's take a look at that. So he tried slash accounts till the root and gets 200 and double up 200, 200, 200. So here's the interesting thing. Is my application returns with 200 if they try to do something with this, right? So you got to try with your application in order to make sure that, right? So what I'm going to do is pts.gnomshield.com/account/ tilde root. Okay, when I hit enter here, I get something. Are you looking for something, right? So let's see the response code, right? So let me see it in the application, in the network section here, and again, refresh here. So my application is actually returning with 200. It doesn't mean that you're exposing something, but this time you are handling exception that it made tricky, right, for him. Because this is the best practice. When you are handling with something unexpected and you know that it's a kind of attack pattern, you gotta handle that in a normal behavior, that the attacker may think that, hey, I get a 200 here, I think it is vulnerable, but obviously not, right? So interestingly, I get a 500 here, which is not a good thing. But let me try this. What's gonna happen? So the URL is vps something something, right? Okay, and okay, this time I'm getting an error message here. It's a 500, an error occurred something in your request. Is there anything that I should worry about in this page? So obviously it's a standard, it looks like a standard error page, but of course it has a HTTP 500. It's not a best practice, obviously, but at least it's better than exposing something. So it seems that there's something interesting here. It may be SQL injection, but of course it has to be a kind of exploitation. There has to be an exploitation. Okay, let's move on. So he tried some options, some get here, right? So let's take a look at in a more statement here. Let's do this. Tail minus 1000, and I'm gonna say, well, okay. I wanted to take a look at the last 1000 line in order to make sure that he has any kind of findings, right? So if you look at the time, date and time, it's obvious that this is generated with a scanner. It's an automated tool. It's not a human being. So there is no way that a human being can generate this many requests in a 1 second, right? Okay, so let me go through. It's scanning, post and gets, and post and gets. So there are a lot here. I'm getting a lot of HTTP 200 and 500, and then it stops at this date and the time, right? So obviously I don't see anything like successful exploitation. So you need to know that the successful exploitation will probably include some of the different patterns, right? Because the random patterns usually it stands for the scanning, but if you are faced with a successful exploitation, you gotta look for some special statement. You're gonna see that in the second and third log files. We're gonna investigate it, but for this moment, we see that how we can analyze a log, how we can look for a potential attacks, right? So in this case, we can say that the attacker doesn't have any access to some sensitive folders or some sensitive information. So he tried to find some vulnerability, get some 200 and 500 results, but those are not the information exposure. He used an Akinetic scanner. He tried with this date, and of course he used this IP address 31, 210, and 36, and 148. So we found a lot about him, and we used cat, last, more, word count, right? Grab, head, tail, sort, unique, right? So of course we use the cut. And in the second part, we're gonna take a look at the awk, find, for, and in statement. Of course, we take a look at the regular expression as well. And in the second part, we will continue with the other command lines. For this moment, thank you very much for listening to me.